All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dawn Loading. I'm a real estate agent here in the Texas Hill Country. And this year, I am building a library of wealth building tools and just all kinds of great things to help people with their money management. And so today is month 2. We started this in February, but this is Fred and I's second call, and you'll be able to see the first one in my YouTube library. However, today we are moving on to a different subject. Every month we're going to cover a different subject. So today, being as I'm a real estate agent and Fred is an estate planning attorney, we want to talk about the importance of having an estate plan set up as soon as you own your home. So, Fred, thank you so much for joining me on this journey and being willing to do these videos with me monthly. Appreciate you. Absolutely love your story, which we talked about last month. So if you missed that call, you definitely need to go back and watch that recording. So tell us today, let's talk about real estate and why is this so important?
Sure. Dawn, as you know, that somebody purchasing a residence, a home for themselves, that's probably the single biggest purchase that they're ever going to make in their life. And quite frankly, it's for a lot of people, it's the single biggest asset they have in their life as well. So how it passes when they die is very important. And there are a ton of questions that need to be asked of somebody when they're purchasing. Are they purchasing as a single person? Are they purchasing as a married couple? Are they purchasing the home as an unmarried couple? If they purchased it as a single person, are they planning on having a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse live with them? Those all can affect in Texas what happens to the property when they die. I've experienced this myself. Jennifer and I, when we were married, but she had a stepson. I mean, I had a stepson, her son, my stepson, and we have children together. Because I had a stepson, then because we had no estate plan, her half of the house went to the children. So a lot of people think, oh, gee, you're a married couple, it automatically goes to your spouse. That is not necessarily true.
And not to interrupt you, but this can change. They ask us those questions at closing. The title company gets that information, and a lot of people forget what they put or they go through changes. It's so important to have this estate plan so that's what you update, because that's the instructions as to who does what and who gets what.
Exactly. And in Texas, if you have more than one person on the deed, the standard is that deed is for those two people, they have what's called a tenancy in common. And really, that's just a kind of a fancy legal word that basically means that they each own an undivided portion of the property. And their undivided portion passes to their heirs, not necessarily to the other owner when they die. It might be to the other owner, depending on what their estate plan is or what the intestacy laws say. But there are ways that everybody needs to think about, where do I want this to go?
Okay,
And
so let me ask you a question. So if someone purchases a home, like you just said, and it's a couple and they're married, but they purchase it as tenancy in common, and then they do an estate. So let's say that they do have children, a stepchild or whatever, they have family, and they just do the title, how they do it. They close, they sign everything, but then they do their estate plan. And so it's between the two of them to come to you and tell you, this is what I want done. So no matter what, that that estate plan is in place, correct? So that replaces whatever could have been done.
Yes, the estate plan is a lot more flexible than changing your deed. Some people will say, "Oh, well, we're going to hold this deed in a particular way, so it passes to a very certain person." That can be accomplished through what we call a joint tenancy with right of survivorship, or it can be accomplished through something that we call a ladybird deed. Those things can be done, but all you're doing is you're planning for this one asset, and you're not necessarily planning for what happens if the person that it's going to passes before you.
Yeah.
Where if you have an estate plan, it handles all assets and all contingencies. If a lawyer's doing the right job and going through your situation with you, it's going to handle all contingencies and all assets. So it's a way to accomplish everything in your estate, not just this one piece that when life changes, and it does, you have to then change each individual part, or you're going to have to just change the one plan at that point.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Um,
definitely important for home ownership. And I'm sure this is like the one thing, and this is my goal this year. By the end of the year, mine will be all done. I have all kinds of questions. We own our home with my in-laws. And so, we talked about this before. And so the number one question is like, what if something happens to them? And I think we'll save our talk about trust because I do have a lot of questions about trust for all of this. If you want to address that a little bit this time, that would be great. But what is the difference between an estate plan and a trust?
well, a trust is a form of an estate plan.
Okay,
So you can look at trust as being a subset of estate plan. It's not separate; it's actually in
part
there.
of
And
it.
you also
Okay,
have wills as a potential estate plan, or you can have what we call beneficiary designations as your estate plan. The beneficiary designation, which was kind of what I was alluding to earlier, is something where you end up with, I'm going to designate this account to this person. I'm going to designate this account to this person. I'm going to designate this piece of property, this home, to this person. And you end up with really a piecemeal solution, which has no flexibility. It's not
yeah,
going to change. And it doesn't protect you necessarily in the event of your disability. If you're disabled, if you be, are your are your assets going to be protected? Are they going to be managed on your behalf, which you can accomplish with some of the other things out there? Um, Another thing to consider are tax issues. When you own property that you pass through a will, or in some instances through a trust, uh, there can be what we call a step up in basis. And I don't want to go into a complicated accounting, but if you buy a house at $100,000 and you sell it at $200,000, your basis was $100,000 and you made $100,000 in quote unquote profit. Now, I won't talk about how that's taxed, whether you're a homeowner or not, but when that house passes to a survivor, uh, there can be a step up in that basis. So the basis is then increased to that $200,000 value. So if your heirs sell it for 200,000, there's not a taxable event there.
wow.
But if
See,
you transfer the deed beforehand, you can create a taxable event by not having it in an estate plan of some sort.
this is all just absolute proof as to why we need you and why it is so important to do all of this because and this is why your information packet asks all these questions this is so important because you can see all of the steps and all of the things that we can't see. Just like for a real estate agent, there's so much behind the scene that we do that people don't get, and things along the way with the contract that I see that others don't. It's just scares me to death when people try to do for sale by owner, because yeah, everything could go okay, but what did you miss? Like, how much money did you leave on the table because you're not a real estate agent? But people try to save money when in the long run it ends up costing money. And this is clear to me this year more than any year before. And I'm determined to make sure that I get this all taken care of. But it's a lot.
And the painful thing is that in estate planning, it costs money for your heirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may not spend that money, but a spending a few thousand today can save your heirs from spending tens of thousands and dealing with all these issues later on down the line when you pass. And so for your loved ones, do you want them dealing with this and paying more than they should, paying more out of your estate, or take care of it now and it's taken care of?
Yeah.
It goes to where you want it to go, how you want it to go to them.
Yeah. Awesome. Definitely. We have 4 kids, 2-step for my husband, and then we have our in-laws too. So we definitely need to get it figured out. And so do all of you. Like everyone that owns a home, if you're getting this and you're a homeowner and you have not done this, this is something you need to reach out to Fred. I'm going to put his information. He's got a beautiful website. I love your website, Fred. That is such a great, whoever did that did an amazing job. That looks great. So lots of details there. You could get a hold of him there. Fred's trusted here in New Braunfels by so many. And I feel 100% comfortable sending anyone to you, knowing that you're going to take great care of them.
Well, I appreciate that vote of confidence. And yes, the website, we do have a lot of information on there.
Yeah, you
do. Feel free to poke around and take a look at it. And feel free to go ahead and schedule an appointment with me there as well. Free 15-minute phone call with me to talk about your situation and what it is we may be able to do to help you out. Definitely. Because when you're buying a home, this is an important step. You need to make sure that it's going to go where you want it to go when you die. And we don't like to think about that. We don't want to think that we're going to, but
it happens.
Right. We know for sure it's going to happen. We just don't know when.
Exactly.
So let's get the planning done today.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of your story. I know we didn't really touch on that at all in this call, but you could hear his whole story in the last call that we did. But Fred had to face this himself with his wife when his wife passed unexpectedly. And so he completely changed his direction for his business and now specializes in this. So I think that's just a beautiful thing. Not that you want anything to come out of this, but we know your passion now with helping other people avoid what you've had to go through. So
exactly, that's my goal is no one should have to go through what I went through. And I really think that it's an important service for everybody out there. I made the mistake myself as a lawyer, thinking, I can do it, but I needed a professional as well. And now, because of that experience, I'm here to serve those that need it.
Yeah, definitely. So. Perfect. All right, Fred. Well, thank you so much. I think I would love, I kind of like to give them a taste of what we're going to talk about next month. Do you have any idea? I suggested trust, but I think you just kind of went over that. So,
well, we can go into that further. There's a lot more to talk about there, and I'll be more than happy to talk about trusts and how they are, in my opinion, really the most flexible vehicle for estate planning and why. They're not for everybody, but they have definite advantages over a will-based plan.
Perfect. And that I think is going to be important for us. So I'm going to get started on that paperwork and we'll get busy with that. So Thank you so much. And we will see you back here next month.
Sounds good. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.